Hello everybody, it's Jeff with AZ Camera Reviews and Cheyenne USA, and today we're going to be talking about a GVM 31-inch slider that will pan 120 degrees back and forth while it's actually sliding back and forth. So as it's sliding, it will point and keep the object in the center while it's moving, and it gives that added extra dimension to your video shots. Now, in the past, I had reviewed this GVM slider, which was a 27-inch slider, and it didn't have the 120-degree pan. So I decided to get this one, and let's open up the box and let's see what's inside. Like I said, it's a 31-inch slider, and this looks like they resealed it, so we'll see what's going on inside. Open this bad boy up. They used a lot of tape. Okay, and cut the tape here. Part of the fun of getting into these things is opening up the boxes sometimes. Okay, let's open this up. Come on. Okay, we got that one. Okay, finally it's open. And let's slide the case out. And as always, it comes with a nice GVM case that the whole apparatus fits inside of. So let's open up. There's the Velcro that keeps the handles together. We'll open up the handles here, and let's undo the zippers. And I'm going to turn this around so that you can see what's going on in the case. So first, looking at this, it looks like we've got some various connection cables, and here's a close-up of the cables. Okay, then we've got another cable, which is a micro cable, some sort of a. It's less than a 3.5 millimeter. I'll have to read up on what this is, but here's a close-up of that cable. And a hex key. Here's a close-up of that. And this is a belt that they're going to use on the actual slider, and that will go in the motor. There's a remote control right here, and we'll go into programming that later. It looks like the same remote control that was on the other unit, the 27-inch. So probably what I'll end up doing is using the programming that I used on the 27-inch one, so I don't have to redo this one. Here's a connector cable that goes between the actual slider and the remote unit, and that plugs in right at the top. And let's see what else we've got. We've got one of their heavy-duty batteries. Here's a close-up of that. And we have an adapter for it, and there's a close-up of that. Then we've got something here in a plastic bag. It's a charger for the battery. Now, the battery is a 7.2 volt, 440 milliamp lithium ion, and it's an F750, NP750 style battery. It's kind of like the Sony style batteries. And then when we remove this top cover, you have the actual unit inside, and you've got a GVM instruction pamphlet. You've got a thing about how to contact their customer service, a qualified certificate, whatever that means, and then you have the actual unit, which I'm going to pull out of the case. Now it looks like the belt is already installed on this one, and I've read in the past that you have to add the belt, but it looks like they've given us a belt with it so that if this belt wears out, you have a backup. So now that we have it unpacked and you can see what's in the box, let's try it out. Let's see how you use it. So I've got my camera set up on my slider. Now, what's going to happen is this slider will move back and forth once I start it. What I wanted to explain first, though, is this is the GVM GT60 D slider. This one's the little brother to the present slider that I have. This one's 21 inches. But the operation, as far as programming it, is the same. So as soon as I show you this demonstration, we're going to go over to how to program it, and I'm going to use the programming for this one, so I didn't have to do this one twice. So now that we got that housekeeping out of the way, by the way, the 60D does not do pans. So I'm going to start the panning on this right now so you can see how that works. So here we go. We're going to start, and you'll see the camera is moving to my left right now. Now, if the camera was to stay in a straight line, it would be moving me from side to side of the frame. I wouldn't stay in the center the way I am now. And that's the reason why it's nice to have a slider that will pan. Now, this is running at about 80% speed. And as you can see, it's keeping me totally in the middle. What I can do is I will set up a quick test just following this to show you what it looks like if you run it flat without the actual pan mode on it. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of what it's like when you run this in the flat mode. So here we go. You'll notice that I'm changing positions in the frame, and I'm going from side to side. This is what happens when you run the camera without setting up your pan. So I'm going to let this go through one cycle so that you can see an example of what it looks like when you run it without the pan going on. So here we go. Now we're going to the extreme left side. And now you see the difference because I'm not staying in the middle of the frame. I'm going from side to side of the frame. Anyway, that will conclude this demonstration of how the slider works without utilizing the pan. Now let's go back to the regular video. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into our settings. So we're going to go into this, and what we're going to do is we're going to go down to setting, and we're going to go into that. Okay, and then we're going to do our start. Now, just for the ease of setting this up, I'm not going to go from end to end because it's just too much trouble. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into set start, and we're going to set a start point. So now, as you can see, it's moving, and I'm going to set it just off center, and I'm going to stop it as it gets just off center, and we'll stop it right there, and that's going to be our start point. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our end point, and we're going to hit end by hitting the down arrow, and we're going to go into end, and we're going to push our left arrow to go to the end start point. And as you can see, it's counting down, and the gimbal is moving, and we're going to go to the left side of center, and we'll stop there. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to long press and press back and go into here, and now escape out, and we're going to, and it says video shot, time lapse, or setting. We're going to go into video shot, and you can either do manual mode or you can do auto mode. If you go into auto mode, what's going to happen is when you start it and you go into auto loop, it's going to go to each side, stop, and then return. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. You're just going to press it to start. And like I said, I have my speed set at 67%. It's in pause right now. And I'm going to hit B to A. So now it's going to move from the left side to the right side. It's going to hit the stop point, and then it's going to return. And it'll keep doing that. So now you can stop, okay? And now it's in pause. And like, let's say we want to get out of this, and we want to go back into video shot, and we want to go into manual mode. So what we do is we push the button once, and it'll start. Excuse me, you push it and you hold it. If you're in manual, if you hold it, it'll go to that point and it'll stop once it reaches it. And then when you hit it back the other way and you hold the button, it'll go back to the other point and it will stop. Okay, so now you can go out of that, and we can go back into video shot, and we can go into auto mode again if you like, and press auto mode, engage it, and go to auto stop. So now when I push the button to engage it, it'll reach the end point and then it'll just stop. So here we go. So this is how this slider works. I really like it. It's just as easy to program as the other slider was. It's all made out of aluminum. The one difference, though, that I want to tell you is the 60D, the motor is on this side, and it's a continuous belt. Whereas that is a single belt, and the motor is mounted right underneath the camera lens. Here's a shot of it real quick. Anyway, that's it from here. I'm Jeff with AZ Camera Reviews saying, please watch us, please like us, and please subscribe. Oh, and don't forget to share us too. I forgot that. Anyway, stay tuned to the very end. I have one blooper I'm going to be sharing with you. Until next time, like I said, Jeff with AZ Camera Reviews. Bye-bye. So I'm going to sit here for a couple of seconds so you guys can see what it looks like when the camera is moving and I'm talking. Now, I'm running this at a 60% speed, And right now it's coming to the stop on my left-hand side. And it's coming up there now, and it's just about to stop and return. Okay. I know this may be a little boring for some of you folks, but whoa! That was not good. It was not good at all, but it was a good first run. Stop.
So let's take a look at the GVM Great Video Maker 48-inch carbon fiber and motorized slider. Now the carbon fiber portion is the rails. Okay, let's take a look at what's inside the packaging. The first thing you'll see is the controller, the USB cord for the controller, the Sony battery and charger, and the camera cable cords. So here you find the carbon fiber rails, the parallax bars in the middle, here's the base plate, and here's the motor. Now this comes with a whole bunch of cables, so it's compatible with most cameras. It also comes with an extension cable as well. Now let me unpack this and show you in detail. Here's the Sony battery charger, and the battery's underneath that you'll see in a second. Here's the USB cable for the remote that I showed you earlier. Here's the Sony battery. So here's the controller again. It has settings for A and B points, slider speed, time-lapse functions, manual slider controls, and auto slider controls. So you plug the USB cable here and run it to the motor, and here's the place where you plug for power. It has a 1/4-20 mount in the bottom and an on and off switch. Keep in mind that every time you turn off the controller, you have to reset the A and B points. Okay, so here's the manual where you find more information for the time-lapse, setting A and B points, slider speed, time-lapse functions, manual slider controls, and auto slider controls. So you can scan these QR codes if you want more information on how to set the slider up. So on the side is where you find the motor, and you see the gear band here on the side, and also on the bottom you'll find the cheese plate. Now you can use multiple 1/4-20s or 3/4 screws. I recommend using at least 2 and using a longer base plate. So this one is the 48-inch. If you've never used a slider before and you just want the best bang for your buck and you figure, hey, I just pay a few more dollars and get a bigger slider, you may be a little bit surprised or maybe even disappointed about how big the slider may be to you. Now, if you're like me and used manual sliders before and you're aware of how the length looks in person, you may not be disappointed at all and it might be exactly what you're looking for. I personally think longer sliders are more geared towards people who use time-lapse. Now also keep this in mind, you don't have to use the full distance of the rail itself. Now with that being said, I personally don't use the time-lapse feature, but I plan to, so I wanted a longer slider to be a little bit more versatile. While it is a little bit longer and may be harder to transport for some people, for me it's not a big deal. I plan on using this more for professional gigs or paid gigs where the size of the equipment really doesn't matter too much. Now if you're a person who likes to travel a bit, take things with you on the go, and be discreet, maybe you're better off with a smaller slider. You'll also notice a 3/4 and 1/4-20 mounting threads on the side. This is if you want to mount the slider vertical. The screws here allow you to adjust the length of the feet on uneven surfaces. So the center red knob here is to adjust the parallax bar. Now there are markings here to help you center it out. So you use this thumb screw right here to lock the base plate. If you don't want the base plate to move, you can also turn on the motor without using it and it'll stay still as well. Now don't forget to loosen that screw up. I've done it a few times, had it tighten and used the motor, and you'll hear a clicking or jamming sound. While I don't recommend it, if you wanted to mount your camera directly to the base plate, or if you had a smaller tripod head that you can put on there with a 1/4-20 mount, you can simply remove the 3/4 adapter on top by unscrewing it with your finger. Now here's a closer look where you plug in the power and the motor. Now to get started it's pretty simple. Grab the battery, grab the controller, mount the battery, grab the USB cable, pretty much plug it into the remote, and then plug it into the motor. Now the controller does have a built-in strap. That is a nice feature, and the cable is long enough to hang it from somewhere and use it, but just be very careful as the motorized slider is moving. The last thing you want is the cable to be tangled. So let me just turn this on really quickly and manually move the slider with the controller so you can see how it works. Okay, so let me just show you some behind the scenes of how I quickly set this up. Now, I don't want to go into too much of the process in detail, as you can find more information on their YouTube page or their direct website. So one thing that I do recommend is getting a good or decent high quality tripod head that can manage the weight that you're putting on that slider. Now, the motion that you get with this particular slider in this brand is pretty smooth. It is not absolute smooth where you can't notice any type of micro movements, but it is definitely usable. So the only time where I actually notice the slider where it kind of bothers me a little bit is when it goes back and forth in the automation modes, whether it be parallax or just back and forth. The reason for this is, as far as I know at this current time, there's not a way to adjust how much dampening you prefer at the endpoints when it begins to go to the other side. Now keep in mind, for the price point, it's not that big of a deal, but I just wanted to point that out. So like I said before, I personally don't do a lot of time lapse, or really hardly any at all. But what I will do, since I have the longer slider, is I plan on doing it because it's going to inspire me to want to create more in that direction. Now, I will say that it's great that you can control the camera, or at least this particular camera, with the included cables and the controller. Okay, so for me, I wanted it more for reveal type of shots and also for the parallax movements. If you're like myself and used a lot of manual sliders in the past, you'll know how hard it is to get consistent results. This is where a motorized slider comes into play. Now, usually motorized sliders are very costly, and even though this is a little pricey to some, it's very affordable if you're talking about getting motorized sliders. So one of the ways they were able to make this more affordable is the parallax function. Now, the parallax function usually requires a motor that pans the head itself and also a motor that goes left and right. Now, combine that together and you can get the parallax function without having a bar in the middle like this one has. So the way they avoided that, they just have a motor that goes left and right, and then they have the parallax bar in the middle that you adjust, as I've shown you already. So there's 3 ways to adjust the parallax bar. The first way is to center out each end of the parallax bar to have the traditional left and right movements or forward and back movements. The second way would be to adjust the ends at an angle. This is going to cause a sweeping motion as you go left and right or forward and back. So the third way is how you track or have the parallax effect. Remember, you don't need to use the entire length of the slider, but also keep this in mind. All this plays a part in how much of the slider that you utilize, the lens or focal length that you utilize, and how close or far away you are from the object that you're panning or tracking. So another benefit that I wanted to point out for having a longer slider, besides for time-lapse functions, is that you can lean it on something and kind of have an upwards movement. Now keep in mind that you can still do this with a shorter slider as well. The difference is the longer the slider, the longer the movement, which makes more sense if you're going up and down, and it can be more versatile depending on what you're trying to film. So there's basically pros and cons to having both a long or short slider. Now you just have to ask yourself, what do you need, or what do you do more of? Because for me, if I had an option, I would have a long and a short slider for different purposes. But if you don't have that option, then you just need to pick the one that you use the most. So let me just give you a quick run through of the remote. Now keep in mind, I'm a type of person who doesn't look at manuals too much, so I base everything off of how easy it is to use right out the box. So let me show you how to do automated settings. Go to settings, hit start. Now here's where you adjust the speed. You have up, down, center, and left and right controls. You want to go up for speed for faster speeds, down for speed for slower speeds. You don't want it to be too slow unless you're doing time-lapse type of functions, because it'll take forever. Now to stop, you just hit the center button. To confirm, hit the center button again. You hold this center button to go to your endpoint now, and do the same process. Now hit the right side or the opposite side that you started off with. Remember, it's the same function, so whenever you want it to stop, you just go ahead and hit the center button to stop it, and hit the center button again to confirm it. And to get out of the menu, just hold the center button. And basically go to video shoot and go to auto mode. Center button. So here you can choose from auto loop or auto stop. Both of them go to the A and B points. The loop portion is basically it loops. It goes back and forth. The stop just goes from A to B or B to A. In the loop function, you can also set which side you want to go to first, the direction A or B or B to A. Unfortunately, the only feature that I see missing personally is dampening functions, as at this current time there is no option for that. So let me run through the video time lapse in the controller. Go to settings and time lapse. You have manual or automatic controls. So the manual control setup is just like when you use a slider in normal use. Now let me show you what it looks like when you put it in automatic mode and the options that you have. So their recommended settings for the stop time is to be twice the value of the exposure. For example, if you have the exposure set for 30 seconds, then the stop time should be set for at least 60 seconds. So overall, I give this slider a thumbs up for build quality, price point, and functionality. Now keep in mind, while you're not going to get the absolute smoothest movement, it is definitely usable. And also keep this in mind, if you need absolute perfection, you're looking at a price tag that's at least 4 or 5 times or more than you're getting for this. So at $400 or less, this is a steal. So far I'm pretty happy with this brand in general. GVM, a great video maker, has a nice brand or quality of lights that they sell at affordable rate. They have the slider at affordable rate, and they also have great customer service, and they've helped me out tremendously along the process whenever I had a problem. So I definitely recommend their brand and recommend their products. If this was helpful at all, please hit like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification icon to get future updates on future videos, or visit www.howtoandreviews.com. Till next time.
Hi, this is my review of the GVM Motorized Camera Slider Track Dolly, 31-inch, 80 centimeter. Now, I received this a couple weeks ago. I've played around with it a bit. I have a lot of positive things to say about it, a couple negative things, and we'll get into all that here in just a moment. So the first thing I want to show you is what comes in the box. Naturally, you get the camera slider itself. This is really well constructed for the price. I'm very happy with it. Carbon fiber for these primary rods. Everything else is aluminum, but it seems really well built, very sturdy. The slider itself is adjustable. The legs are adjustable by rotating them so you can make it level on a surface. You get the slider, the control unit, battery and battery charger, the control cable, and then you also get 6 different camera controls. So you can actually plug this in to the shutter control in your camera to do time-lapse photography. And a very simple, in fact, I might argue disappointingly so, simple manual. Let's do a quick little demonstration here. Now, when you first plug it in, you get a couple options: video shot, time-lapse, and settings. It's not super intuitive, but if you read the instruction manual or the online tutorial, you'll see it pretty quick. Okay, that is now set, and we should be able to go back, video shot, auto mode, auto loop, 100%, and go. Now, one thing it doesn't really make clear in the video is that when you're setting the start and stop points, it will simply keep running. So it'll run to the very end and then just grind on the belt. So you have to be very careful. If you're not quite sure what you're doing, I would set the speed slow till you figure it out. All right, so that's the loop mode. There's also manual mode, where it moves only as long as you hold a button. Let go of the button, and it comes to a slow stop. There's also time-lapse settings. I really can't review that because it's not really something I'm interested in. Now, it comes with one battery and a battery charger, but just to be safe, you might want to pick up a AC adapter. The control unit has on the top a plug where you can plug into an AC adapter. So if you're buying an adapter like this guy, you want 12 volt center pin, 2.5 millimeter center pin positive, and at least a couple of amps. This one's 5 amps. Got it from Amazon for like $12 or $15. The other feature that's really cool about this slider is the ability to pan your shots or to stay focused on a center shot as it slides. So this is the kind of a neat feature. Now it's a little bit, you got to play with it to get it just right. But watch as the camera moves here, and it'll actually track what you're focusing on. Now again, you got to kind of finagle this a little bit to make sure that it stays focused in the same, or pointing at the right spot throughout the entire movement. But it seems to work pretty well. So that's the first mode that allows you to track a single object. And then you can also, by adjusting these sliders, you can do a panorama shot. I believe the manual says 120 degrees. Now you probably want to take your strap off, but obviously I was just setting this up quick, so there it is. Now the other thing that I want to show is the speed, since we're doing this. So that's 100% speed, and you can adjust it in 1% increments. So this is 60%. And 40%. %. And 1%. Now the other thing I want to say is that this is very quiet. It's incredibly quiet for a stepper motor. There's no stepper whine, but I'm sure your mic on the camera would be fine for reference audio. And even if you had a directional mic hot shoot on your camera, I doubt it would pick up much, if anything at all, of the motor. The motor is super quiet. So here is the case, and it is really nice. This rigid foam to hold the slider and the different components, very sturdy. I am super happy with this case. Probably the best you could do outside of a custom hard case. Very nice case. Okay, so there are a couple things that were not super great with this. This is the belt that came with the unit. And as you can see by looking at it, there's a warped section in the center. Now this was just wrapped around the motor during shipping. I suspect that this unit had been sitting around for a while, and because of that, it was minor, but when the camera would move past this warp, there'd be a little bit of a stutter, a little bit of a shake as it went through that. And it was enough to be noticeable, and was enough to really turn me off, because the whole point of this is obviously to have a fluid, smooth motion. So I contacted the manufacturer. They sent me another belt. It took about a week, week and a half for me to get it in the mail. And it was really easy to replace. Just 4 little screws with an Allen key, no big deal, real easy to do. I would recommend, if you get this unit, if you're gonna be storing it, even just a few days, you'd probably want to take the belt off. So I was a little bit frustrated, and it's going to affect my review on Amazon, that I had to deal with this at all. I really shouldn't have had to deal with that. They probably should ship it with the belt uninstalled, with directions to install it. So it was frustrating that I had to deal with it at all. The second point, and really the biggest downside to this unit, is the support in general. I don't know if it even has a warranty. When you look at this on Amazon.com, it says for warranty information, click here, and that just takes you to the manufacturer's store. There's no warranty information. There's no warranty information included in the manual. It doesn't reference a warranty at all. They were kind enough to ship this out, but quite frankly, that was probably cheaper for them than for me to send this whole unit back and request another unit from Amazon. So, obviously it was in their best interest to do that. I just don't know. That's really the big complaint, is support. All support goes directly through Amazon, through the website. You have to use the contact a seller feature. You cannot contact GVM directly. There's no phone number. There's no email. There's no Facebook. There's no Twitter. No way to contact the manufacturer outside of the Amazon sphere. So that definitely makes things a little more difficult. Again, I wish I knew if there was even a warranty. It's very sturdy and it's also very simple. I don't see it breaking. The only thing that could potentially go wrong would, well, I guess, the control unit could go bad. The motor could wear out. This is a standard motor, so you could replace that yourself relatively easily. I suspect there's a little bit of custom wiring in here that you might have to deal with. So it could be a little bit of a pain. I don't know. I'm not even going to attempt to take it apart to find out. So it's a little frustrating that there's no idea about a warranty and you have to go through Amazon for any kind of information. That definitely takes away from the whole thing for me. But all in all, for the price, it's a phenomenal unit. It functions well. I had this one little hiccup right out of the gate that's been solved. It took it about a week and a half to get solved. Everything else is working fine. I'm very happy with the unit. I'm very happy with the build quality, with the controls, everything about it. So as long as it works fine and it doesn't break down, I'm going to be super thrilled with this thing. So I hope this helps you out. That is the GVM 31-inch 80 centimeter camera slider, motorized. Definitely worth checking out for the price. I couldn't find anything else even remotely to this price that is anywhere near this level of quality. It's really stands alone. So there are a couple little hiccups, but for the price, really well worth it. All right. Thanks for watching.
If you already own the Ronin RS2 or the RS-C2 and you've been looking for more creative ways to make use of it, this is a good one. The cheap Chinese camera slider. I've had my RS-C2 gimbal for a couple of months now, and really I couldn't be happier with the thing. Looking back into the past at some of the camera gear I bought that I wasn't so happy about, I remembered this cheap Chinese camera slider thing. I got it thinking it'd be a good way to add some motion into like a B camera for some interview footage. It's got these little knobs so that presumably if you line it up right, you can make it so that as it travels across the thing, it'll just keep the camera pointed at whatever your subject is. And when it works, it makes this really cool effect and you get this really cool like parallaxy video tracking shot thing. It's just that it doesn't work very often, and even when you do get it to work, you have to fiddle with it for a long time. And I don't know, these things will come unset, and like after a little bit of filming, the subject will be like moved over in the frame, and I was never very happy with it. It's a cheap one. This is only a couple $100 on Amazon. They make super nice, super expensive ones that have their own little robot arm that can track and can, you know, do what you would want it to do. But then it occurred to me, this thing has a regular little camera mount. That's how you connect a camera to it. You can connect one of those to the bottom of the gimbal too. It's really just the tracking on this thing that's hard to set up. The motor, getting it to move back and forth, and it's got its own little computer, it's got its own little motor thing, and that's actually fine. So I can use the Raven Eye software in the gimbal to choose a target to lock onto, and then just have set this thing to loop going back and forth forever. And the gimbal's gonna handle all of the part that you couldn't set up with the cheap Chinese knockoff ones. The part that separates the cheap Chinese knockoff ones from the super expensive ones. There's one called the Rhino Arc 2, where it has its own little computer, its own little gimbal. It can lock onto stuff and it can do everything you would expect it to. But since I already have RS-C2, which can do all that stuff, all I needed was just something that would make it go back and forth in an even way. And voila, a couple $100 on Amazon, and you can get one of these cheap knockoff Chinese sliders. And they work great for just that. And this thing works great for tracking a subject. Together, they're great. This became a rare case of mixing top-of-the-line technology with cheap Chinese knockoff tech, where the result is amazing, and it actually does what you want. Whether you need like a locked-on shot for some B-roll, like for product photography or something like that. I'm taking a little video of this forge burning because it'll look cool and it'll illustrate this well. Or whether you want a second camera for an interview that has some motion in it that looks neat. This is a cheap and functional solution. I mean, it's no MKBHD robot arm, but it's pretty sweet. Thank you. I hope this helps somebody solve some kind of creative problem. My name is Nicholas Johnson. This is the Space Warehouse, and I will see you very soon. You see, I've got diamond hands, and I'm riding on a rocket ship that's going up to the moon. It's called MVIS. It's a company that makes LiDAR scanners so that self-driving cars can see the road and the environment in front of them and around them. These things are going to become crucial, and all the big companies that are making cars are going to start to want them. Apple's courting them, Ford's courting them, I think Mitsubishi's courting them. So basically, LiDAR is part of the future for self-driving cars, and microvision is the future of LiDAR.
There's this place I dreamed of being. It's always been knocking at my door. The hot feels cold and the cold feels warm. You've never seen like it before. I'm thinking I could lead an army where there's no such thing as war. Raising my flag all over town. Drummers drumming down the street. Dancers dancing to the beat. And I feel like I could fly. And I feel the music running through my mind. Oh, I never see it coming. Always gotta keep on running on. Oh, I never see it coming. Always gotta keep on running on. All the things that really matter aren't critical to the world. But time's my money in this life. I spend it on where I please. I spend it on who I please. And I feel like I can fly. And I feel the music running through my mind. Whoa, I never see it coming. Always gotta keep on running on. Whoa, I never see it coming. Always gotta keep on running on. It sounds like na 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 na. Na 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 na. It sounds like na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. I feel like I can fly. And I feel the music running through my mind. And I feel like I can fly. Oh yeah. I never see it coming. Always gotta keep on running on. It sounds like na 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 na. Na 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 na.
All right, just about to test out the slider here. I set it up. It was real easy to set up. We set up some just a basic back and forth. I don't have it exactly centered, but I'm mostly making it focus on the lava lamp there. It's somewhat centered. It's really easy to set up. Really easy to use. Pretty pleased with it. Here we go. I've got it set in auto. I programmed it to go back and forth at 96% speed. So it goes just a hair faster than this if you want. You can also go much slower. So yeah, it does what you need. I'm pretty pleased with it.
Rest your mind, it's always been there all along. Sense of belonging to a greater unknown. Hold your breath, we're diving into something
woke now. Give me some chippin' deal. Right now, before the game, I'ma tell you that this is it. You can hate, but the champ is on his way. Give me some chippin' deal.
light 896s being powered by the batteries. These batteries work great. Don't have any problems. There's no cords connected. Highly recommend.